St. Louis sports fans, go deeper with STL Sports Central Insiders. Get exclusive access to Bernie, Randy, Claibs, Jamal Mayers, and more. Plus, your chance to watch a Blues game in the alumni box with Jamal himself. Monthly giveaways, Bernie's columns all week, and support for local sports media. Join now at stlsportscentral.com.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to what we call Huddle Up with Howard. I'm Mike Claiborne. He's Howard Richards, and we're going to talk a little football. And first of all, let's start with Mizzou. Got a win last week, but now it's Oklahoma, which is a little bit of a different story.
Not only is it a different story, but you go to Norman where you haven't won and
since you were there,
didn't win there 59 years. So that if you're doing the math, that's 1966.
That's the last time.
And then before that, 1960. So there were 6 years in between wins in Norman. Listen, we came close when I played, but close is only going to get you so far. I mean,
they still have that pitch field where how.
It's a grass field now. They've changed that. Where you couldn't see
a helmet on the other guy.
You have to stand on your tiptoes, and then maybe you see the guy from the waist up. But it's going to be a tough place. Mizzou has, I think, at least the luxury of beating OU at home last year. Now, that's a different team, different quarterback. Jackson Arnold is gone. He's at Auburn now. Mizzou's beaten him already. You've got John Mateer, and Oklahoma brought in a new offensive coordinator from, was it Washington State? Arbuckle.
Yeah.
So that was a package deal. Now I will say this: the OU offense has been a bit up and down this year, been inconsistent. The numbers aren't necessarily eye-popping, but their defense is the strongest point for them. They're coming off a big win in Tuscaloosa against Alabama. So they'll be riding high. Now, how does that translate for them? You're playing at home, of course, where, the excitement and the possibility of them getting to the college football playoff is there. Mizzou could play a huge spoiler role in at least, kind of knocking down OU's CFP chances by beating them. And, here's the thing about streaks. At some point, it's going to end.
Oh, yeah.
Just like when Mizzou knocked off number 1 Oklahoma in Columbia in 2010, when no one really had any expectations of them doing it, but they did. Ahmad Hardy rushed for 300 yards against Mississippi State. I don't care how good or how bad a team is. When you're running for 300 yards on only 25 carries, that is, to me, quite a milestone. But here's the thing for Missouri. This is the identity offensively that they are. The long passing, deep passing game has not been where they thought it would be or where we all feel it should be. So this is who you are. This is your best opportunity to at least play against Oklahoma, who's only allowing 87 yards rushing per game. So it's good on good.
When you look at Missouri, the last 2 weeks, they rushed for almost 600 yards.
Yeah, indeed.
So you're right. That is their personality. I know we thought we were going to razzle dazzle and go up the field. Well, that's not there.
Not there.
So you might as well stick with what you have. And if you can rush for 150 yards against a team like Oklahoma, I think you have a chance.
And what you're doing there, strategically, if you're running the football, you're eating up clock. Mm-hmm. You're minimizing the offensive possessions for and somewhat inconsistent offense in Oklahoma. And if you can do that, that's, to me, your best chance of winning this football game, because I think Missouri's running game is better than OU's. Get the ball first, hopefully, but be intentional. I've been using this word a lot lately. Be deliberate, be intentional. That should be your focus, running the ball with success against an OU team that is reliant on its defense. If you can knock that defense down, tire them out. That's the key. Tire them out by running, keep them on the field. Then you got a much better shot than if you're doing things to try to be cute out there in the passing game that you haven't been able to do all season long.
How much of an impact would it have if you keep them on the field and all of a sudden there's a sense of urgency for Oklahoma's offense because, as you mentioned, that's not their strong suit. But now you put them in a position where like they feel like we got to do something here because we don't know we're going to get the ball back.
Mm-hmm.
I think if you can hold on to it, like you mentioned, this could be very interesting. But also, if Oklahoma loses, they're out. I think they drop too far down.
I think so
to be considered because A, you're losing to Missouri, a team you were supposed to beat, and B, there's going to be some teams starting to inch their way up now, and you do not want to be on the wrong side. I don't think you can afford to lose games in November anymore.
No, I think you're right. They likely would drop, probably 5-6 spots, probably at minimum, outside of the top 12, and would be difficult unless someone else stumbles in the top 4 or 5 also stumbles.
Season gone according to the plan as far as what you've seen, not just for Missouri, but just in college football. We talked about Indiana early. I don't think anyone thought they would still be around. At least I didn't. Texas A&M was a team that we kind of circled to pay attention to, but they have certainly shown that they can play anywhere, anytime against anybody. And then I look at Ohio State, and I'm like, okay, well, you're the champions from last year, and nobody's beaten you yet, so I guess you're still the champion until somebody beats you.
Yeah, and does the complacency factor fall within the Ohio State program? We'll find out soon enough in the playoff. But right now, they are the team that's at the top of the perch, and it's going to be up to somebody else to remove them from that spot.
Before we close the book on Mizzou for the day, Vrabel has been getting closer to being available. What did you see in Zollers last week that you didn't see in the week before?
Saw a little more confidence. I think he's a bit more sharp, a bit more confident. I think he saw the field somewhat better last week. Now, what he's going to see from OU will probably be similar to what he saw from A&M. Yeah. So it's incumbent upon the staff to have him prepared for that. But we know what the formula should be. You come out with quick throws. I haven't seen a screen in several weeks. Utilize some screens. Get the tight end involved. How many times have we going to say this? But I think that's where, for your quarterback with a big target like Norfleet, who's back, you can't help but miss him. And you could utilize both tight ends or 2 tight ends, crossing patterns underneath. Anything for the quarterback to get the ball out of his hands more quickly. Move him outside of the pocket so he's not just standing there, because Zollers can run it. He's shown the ability to both stand tall in pocket, but also move him a bit. I think then you eliminate that straight ahead pass rush, and it also counters some of those blitzes that are either coming off the corners or right up the gut that you often have had shown the inability to block at times.
Well, it should be fun to watch Missouri and Oklahoma this week. As you mentioned, we haven't seen a victory there in a long time, so maybe this is the year for Missouri and Oklahoma.
Here's the big news. It's almost your turn in Missouri to get into the game because DraftKings Sportsbook is coming to the Show Me State on December 1st. And pretty soon, you're going to be able to get fast payouts when you win, a safe and secure app that's easy to use, and promos that keep the action going all season long. No wonder it's America's top-rated sportsbook app. The countdown is on. New customers sign up right now and score $300 in bonus bets on launch day, December 1st. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use code STL Sports, the one that's right there on your screen. The crown is yours in partnership with DraftKings Sportsbook.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. 21 and over. Physically present in Missouri. Eligibility and restrictions apply. Subject to regulatory licensing requirements. Bonus bets are non-withdrawable and expire 7 days after issuance. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see sportsbook.draftkings.com/promos.
NFL. Let's talk a little NFL. Some interesting games starting to be on the schedule now. When I was looking at the schedule this week, 4 games stood out for me. Pittsburgh is at Chicago. I still don't know what Pittsburgh is. And I'm not sure about Chicago, although when you look at their record, they're certainly improved from last year. I don't know what Pittsburgh's personality is.
You raise a good point. So you mentioned 2 teams that I would put an asterisk by. Okay, and I say Pittsburgh, first of all. They got rid of George Pickens, who is now at Dallas. Look at the success that Pickens has had.
Yeah.
Say what you want to say about Dallas, but offensively, minus a couple of missteps this season, they have performed extremely well. And Dak has been playing very well. Pickens just kind of toyed with
The Raiders.
the Raiders on Monday Night Football. And that combination of he and CeeDee Lamb is really good. If they can get, now that they've added a couple new pieces, Quinnen Williams was a big addition and felt his impact right away on Monday night. What could the Cowboys do if the Eagles, drop a couple games here and there down the stretch? Washington is having issues. The quarterback's been injured. So I'm not saying that that's going to be the case, but the Cowboys can't play any worse than they've played defensively all year.
They got
long.
the worst out of their system.
Yeah.
I thought coaching had a little bit to do with it too early in the year. They didn't have a pass rush. They were getting chewed up inside. And then all of a sudden they didn't have anybody coming off the edge. I thought the linebackers were pretty solid.
Yeah. Yeah.
But now it seems like it's coming together, although Raiders are awful.
Well,
gosh,
there is that.
Al Davis has to be turning over his grave. Say, what in the hell is going on?
Sell the team, Mark.
Exactly. Yeah, do something, man.
So Ben Johnson at Chicago. Look at the ascent of Caleb Williams at quarterback. The one singular difference between Caleb Williams and Chicago is Ben Johnson. And look at Detroit and how they're struggling offensively now that Ben Johnson has departed the Lions.
It's amazing how a guy can have that.
You think one guy would make that big of a difference, but I think he has.
And it's not just the play calling. I think it's more of the mindset because, Ben Johnson, they run the same plays in Detroit that they ran in Chicago. A lot of guys in the organization remember who Ben Johnson was and took some of his stuff. I think it's the mindset that a coach, whether it's the offensive coordinator or the head coach, the impact he has on that quarterback and giving him the confidence of saying, we're not going to put you in a bad situation. We're not going to call plays that we don't think you can succeed at. And I think what they've done is they made it simple for Caleb Williams to find things he can do, not only with his arm, but with his leg. And it's showing. And you know what? He's got a little bit better supporting cast.
Yeah,
when he
really does. And where I think the difference is with Ben Johnson, especially with younger players, is the term coach, is sort of a broad brush, if you will. But to me, a really, really good coach is one who can teach his players to the point where they learn it, absorb it, and retain it. That's what the best coaching does for you. And not every coach is very good at that.
I agree with you 100% because I think, and you picked the sport, coaches have gone back to teaching compared to coaching. And it is a big difference in the two. And I see it in the other sports where guys, whether they come up from the minor leagues or wherever, you see coaches, but it's more individual instruction now compared to the days of, we're going to run this play. Hey, coach, that's a great call. No, we're not running this play. I'm going to teach you how to run this play.
Well, and I've talked about this before at Dallas under the Landry system when it was really working. The key to the offense there is that your offensive personnel understood how you were attacking a particular defense on any particular play. And on each offensive play in that playbook, it had what's called, for those of you who don't understand Latin, who don't understand Latin, is a term called sine qua non. And what it means is it translates without which there is nothing. So every play has that, as I call it, the SQN, the sine qua non, that if you don't at least execute, what's in that box, there's a good chance the play will not be successful. If you do at least that much, the chances of this play being successful are very good. Now, again, it requires the execution of all 11, but they feel that the way the plays were designed, if you do this much, then you're going to beat the defense.
Let's move on to a couple of other games. Minnesota's at Green Bay. Again, two teams, I don't know who they are. I mean, I thought at the beginning of the year, Green Bay was a team. Yeah, you better pay attention to them. J.J. McCarthy is too inconsistent for me to put all my eggs in his basket.
Young player.
Yeah, and he's going through the growth process. And here's a guy who hasn't played a lot of football.
Mm-hmm.
When you think about his last year in Michigan, then he gets hurt when he gets to Minnesota, and he's still trying to find his way. So I think that it's part of the growth process, which is why we don't know who they are. Green Bay, Love is they gave him the keys and the contract to go with it. And I don't know whether it's the fact that maybe they've gotten away from the run game to the point where maybe they want to go upfield a little bit more, and maybe that guy, that difference maker, isn't there. But I just don't know who they are yet.
I don't think they know who they are either. And I think fundamentally, this time of year, the teams that are successful, you can throw the football, but you got to be able to run the ball consistently, and make key first downs and stay ahead of the chains. That's always the winning formula. I don't care who you are. But they probably got to have a little more consistent play out of the quarterback, but receivers and the other offensive personnel have to be able to step up. You talked about quarterback play and J.J. McCarthy. Someone that went through something similar last season, but, the difference is probably also coaching, is Drake Maye at New England. What about the Patriots? Look at where New England was last year. How do you think the Tennessee Titans feel firing Mike Vrabel, send him back to New England where everything is familiar for him? You bring back McDaniels as the offensive coordinator, and Drake Maye is having an MVP season. So going back to my point about coaching matters. You got to have great players, guys that understand how you're trying to attack. But your coaching is what differentiates, I think, between average and good and great.
You mentioned the running game. Kansas City's on the ropes, and they're going to see one of the best running games in the NFL this weekend as Indianapolis comes to town.
The Chiefs, they've been in this situation before. They've got 5 losses. Now they could still make playoffs, go on a run with the personnel they have. Anything is possible. They've just got to go out and do it. You have to not rely on past accolades and go out there and play football, because guess what? The rest of the league is getting closer to you. I mean,
maybe
New England, Indiana, Indianapolis, Denver. Those are teams that are, breathing down your neck. So Andy Reid's got to be able to, either be more creative or, players have to understand, look, we can't just sit back here and expect to have the same results.
Going to stop
exactly
the Indiana running game.
Yeah, we've got to make some moves. We got to be more deliberate about how we are going to make our run down the stretch. I mean, they have the people to do it, but you've just got to be able to do it. An aging team in some areas, they still got some youth in areas too. So the mix has to be good. They've had injuries, and there's really not a lot you can do about injuries, but the next guys up have to be able to play at the same level as your starters that are out.
With success, you drop in the draft. You don't have, a top 10 pick. You don't have a middle round pick. I think that's caught up to Kansas City, where when you've been used to drafting late in the draft, that guy who you need to play for you, he may be able to play, but he's not ready to play. That's the reason why you had to take him so late in the draft. And I just feel like they have a collection of those players now where they all trying to rise together, but they all could use a little bit more seasoning, especially in the environment that the Chiefs are in on every Sunday basis, where everybody's giving you your best shot.
That, and also just take a marquee player. He's a good player for whatever reason.
Mm-hmm.
However, the one thing that has to be accounted for that a lot of people don't think about is the system he's now in is conducive to promoting his best talent to come forward. It's not always the case.
But see, that's where scouting has to be on the same page with the organization. Is this a guy who can help us?
Yeah.
The way we run our team. And then the question is, well, how much do you allow coaches to tell the scouts, this is what I need? I mean, remember the football Cardinals, they wouldn't let the coaches in the same zip code with the scouts, let alone make a suggestion.
That's still
and so you kind of have to wonder how much in concert are they with regard to making sure we're on the page of saying this guy can help us compared to him being the best athlete available.
Yeah, I mean, it's like your philosophy as a corporation. The people that are out promoting your products and selling for you, hey, they've got to be able to buy into what the product is that they're promoting, and then they've got to be able to be successful in doing so. So that's all a part of it. But that's what makes this league so much more interesting. The parity, I think, makes it better because you're not seeing the same teams being successful and being so dominating each and every year. If you're a fan of a particular team, you want your team to be a dominant dynasty type team, but the rest of the league wants to see their teams have an opportunity to play for a championship.
If there's one thing the NFL is good at, it's scheduling. I mean, there are very few bad weekends of football where everybody's playing for something. And I say the last game, you touched on Dallas and maybe they turn the corner. Well, we'll find out this week because they host Philadelphia.
Yep.
And Philadelphia was very impressive in their last outing. Dallas was very impressive in their last outing. And obviously Dallas needs to win more football games. And if you can't beat Philadelphia, in your own backyard, I think that kind of will sum up what your season is going to end up looking like.
Yeah. So the one area of concern for Philly is that their right tackle, Lane Johnson, has a Liz Frank fracture. They don't expect it to be season ending, but not everyone recovers from that type of injury at the same rate. So
and as good as he is, too. Yeah. I mean, he may be
for
as
years,
good a right tackle there is in the game right now.
Exactly. Yeah.
And then if you're Dallas, you probably want to exploit that as much as you can. Maybe you even slide Quinnen Williams over to that side of the field a little bit more and make sure that tackle has to make a decision. If he starts looping on him, what am I going to do? Because Quinnen Williams, when he started with the Jets, I thought that he was as good as Jalen Carter as far as just a dominant player inside.
Mm-hmm.
Lost interest in New York. New York lost interest in him. He's got a second life. This could be a huge game for him.
Yeah, and he's got the benefit of Oso Odigizua and also Kenny Clark, who is playing better maybe than expected at the other tackle position. And, maybe the luster or the disappointment of the Micah Parsons trade has sort of worn off a little bit. He hasn't played as consistently and as dominantly, I think, although he's had his moments playing.
If they're both right at the same time, it's going to be a long afternoon for somebody.
Yeah,
I mean, because I'm trying to remember who made the point. You're only as good as your guys inside right now and in line play. And when you have those two guys up front that can do some things, all of a sudden that defensive end doesn't have to worry about being double teamed. Because that guard can't help him. And so it should be fun. I'm looking forward to that one.
Having that pressure from the middle of your defense, which a lot of teams don't have that luxury, but a guy like Quinnen Williams, who can create sacks and pressures by himself. Not every defensive tackle is capable of doing that consistently like he can.
Well, there you have it. Those are some of our games for this weekend we think might be fun to watch. Missouri's in action against Oklahoma. What time is that game?
11 a.m.
11 a.m. All right. Sounds like it could be an interesting afternoon for Missouri. And another good weekend of college football around the country. So we'll have a chance to talk about that next week, along with the NFL, as we'll be back here, same bat time, same bat channel next week. For Howard Richards, I'm Mike Claiborne. We call this Huddle Up with Howard.